Hello and welcome to Euphoria. I noticed recently that LEGO are launching the new LEGO Ideas set 21341, the Disney Hocus Pocus, the Sanderson Sisters Cottage, which I'm going to call the Hocus Pocus House. This Ideas set is the brainchild of the LEGO fan Amber Veit from Belgium, and it's based on the Disney film Hocus Pocus. This looks like another beautifully designed set. There are some clever play features, including some moving parts and a light brick and new minifigures. I'm really interested in the design of this set because it looks like a really good basis for the development of a MOC of a medieval house, which would fit well in the old town area of my LEGO city. On the other hand, I don't know if you agree with me, but at £200 or $230, I find this rather an expensive set. Let me know what you think. But I'm wondering whether this could be the basis for an interesting MOC. So this set is just coming out in July 2023. I haven't got the set yet, but I want to have a look at what this set has to offer before deciding whether to buy. For once, it's not a doll's house set, but is fully rounded, although one side hinges open to reveal the interior, and the roof also can be hinged open. There's also an extension which allows you to change the configuration of the set, and you can also change the features from a house to a witch's museum. The size of the basic house is 20 by 20 studs, but there's an extension which can be added on the side, which is 10 by 8 studs, and that makes the whole house 28 by 20 studs. I do like the shape of this house. It has an interesting facade, especially with the single-storey extension and the overhanging window on the upper floor. The style of this building is like a medieval half-timbered house, using colours which are mostly brick yellow and dark brown. The house has an opening front which allows access to the ground floor and mezzanine level of the interior. The opening roof is a nice feature that allows access to the upper level of the house, and it seems to fit fairly well with very small gaps to the gable of the house, and it also provides the nice overhanging eaves. And I rather like the way that the roof has been made with a combination of plates and tiles, leaving some studs showing and providing some variation in the texture of the roof, without a lot of garish colours as we had with the medieval blacksmith set. There's also a dormer window feature, with the roof joining to the main roof using some angled or wedge plates. The gables are not just plain gables, so they have some interest, and the boarding on one of the gables is deliberately applied at different angles to give a more rustic, older appearance to the building. There is a substantial brick-built chimney, which reminds me of the one on the medieval blacksmith or the one on the Santa's Visit set. The water wheel makes for an interesting play feature, and it looks like it's connected through some kind of mechanism to make the smoke puff in the chimney. There are some nice additional features and lots of details, such as a light brick in the fireplace and lots of accessories for the interior to remind you of the film. There are 6 new minifigures with the set too. I'm not a Hocus Pocus fan, but I understand these to be the 3 Sanderson sisters, Max, Danny, Alison, and Thackeray Binks as the Black Cat. There's also a separate small build which represents the gate and graveyard, which can be used as a display stand for all the included characters and contains the grave of Billy, although I can't see whether it opens in the way it was designed in the original ideas submission. There's also a gnarled tree using some of those curved pieces, which are sometimes used as plants or trees, and sometimes, in different colours, used as tentacles. I'm just going to compare this building with some other building sets that come to mind. At first sight, the style of this building looks a bit like the medieval blacksmith set, which was another ideas set from 2021 and is another standalone building in what you might say is a traditional or historical style. That building is about 25 studs by 16 studs, plus various overhangs and extensions on a base that's nearly 32 by 32 studs, and it's about 27 centimetres high. But of course it contains 2 floor levels plus the space in the roof. This Hocus Pocus house is a similar size, at 28 studs by 20 studs, which includes the water wheel and the overhanging window. It's about 24 centimetres high, and it also contains 2 floor levels and living space in the roof. By comparison, the modular buildings, like the Parisian restaurant, are normally on 32 by 32 stud base plates, so they have a slightly larger footprint. That particular Parisian restaurant set is about 30 centimetres high, and it's a single building, again with 2 stories and living space in the roof. But the Parisian restaurant is a bit unusual because the modular buildings range often tries to fit more than one building onto a single modular base plate. For example, the detective's office modular building has 2 narrower buildings and a passageway through the middle, all on a 32 stud wide footprint. So if the medieval blacksmith and the Hocus Pocus house do feel a bit large for an individual house, compared at least with the scale of normal modular buildings, I think that's forgivable. They are still minifig scale, and anyway, they're not trying to be modular buildings. If they still feel a bit large, then they could perhaps be converted into something else, like a guild hall building or market hall, which would typically be a bit larger than a normal dwelling house. The medieval blacksmith set is still available and costs £160. It has 2,164 pieces, which works out at about 7p per piece, although I have seen this set sometimes reduced, which would obviously reduce the piece cost as well. In comparison, the Hocus Pocus set costs £200 or $230 and has 2,316 pieces, which works out about 8.6p per piece. I guess that's the effect of inflation on Lego pricing, plus the requirement to provide a license fee to Disney. So I think maybe the Hocus Pocus set is not really overpriced compared with the current prices for the modular building sets, which are now also around the £200 mark, although with 3,000 pieces these seem to offer a better price per piece. So I think I'd be quite interested in using this set as the basis for a modification or my own design. I could look to buy this set and maybe get some more Lego pieces to modify it a bit. Or I could use the basic design as the basis of a MOC by designing my own version and buying all the pieces to build my own design. I do like the shape of this house. It has an interesting facade. That reminds me a bit of my recent modular MOC of Honeydukes Sweet shop, which also has that typical overhang at the front and the kind of bay window sticking out. The style of the building is quite reminiscent of a medieval half-timbered house, using colours which are mostly brick yellow and dark brown, which are sufficiently different from the reddish brown and medium nougat that I used on the Honeydukes MOC that it would make an interesting contrast. So I was intrigued enough by the look of this set to have a go at virtually building this house on the computer. The instructions for the set are not yet available on the LEGO website. I'm sure they'll be coming out soon. But just to get an idea of how this works, I worked out the basic structure, and it looks like it could be the basis for an interesting MOC. There are some interesting techniques and design choices in this set. For example, the timber framing round the outside is sometimes applied externally using 1x6 and 1x8 tiles, and it's sometimes created just using bricks in the same dark brown colour. If I were going to MOC this, I might want to convert the opening front of the house to a fixed wall and then provide access to the interior through separable stories the way that modular buildings do. The water wheel makes for an interesting feature, but if I was MOCing this, I would probably leave out the mechanism that drives the smoke in the chimney and probably miss the water wheel itself off completely. I did look at the cost of buying the parts for a MOC like this, even without the lighting brick and minifigs and with no interior features. The parts would currently cost almost as much as the set. But this might come down as these parts will become more common. I'm not sure what I'd do with this as a MOC. I think, although it's tempting, I've found out before that it's usually much more complicated than it first appears to convert a building into a modular size and shape that meets the standards for a proper modular building. For example, on the Honeydukes MOC, it looked relatively straightforward, as the building facade was already 16 studs wide, so that was the easy part. But I wanted to add an extra story, and I had to completely redesign the roof. So it turned out to be an interesting challenge, but quite a lot of work. You can see how I did that on the video series on my channel. So with this set, I'd not only be faced with those challenges, I'd have to decide what to do with the side extension. I'd quite like to keep it, as it adds a nice extra dimension to the building, but it makes it very difficult to fit into a modular footprint. Of course, I don't have to make it into a modular building. I could just build this set on a, let's say, 32 by 32 base plate, and I think it would look good in the old town part of my Lego city. Even if it doesn't meet modular standards, it would still be a lovely standalone building. In fact, I think I can even get the side extension on a standard base plate. I do like the additional interest that it gives to the house, and there could perhaps be a small garden around it. So that was a quick look at the set and its main features. I was really interested in it because it looks like a nice set in itself, as a really characterful build of an old style house. I do like the design of this building with its timber framing and earthy colours, making for an interesting facade, especially with the overhanging window on the upper floor. And I felt that maybe it could be the basis for the development of a MOC of a nice medieval building. Although it might be a bit expensive at £200, there are some interesting features and elements in new or rare colours, and the size and cost of the building is similar to some modular sets. So maybe with some design work it could be the basis of a MOC using the bricks and elements that are becoming available with the introduction of this set. What do you think of this set? Will you be getting it as it comes out, or maybe wait and look at it later? What about using this as the basis of a MOC? Do you think that it would be worth the effort? Do let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Please like this video if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you want to see more videos about LEGO sets, LEGO modular buildings and my LEGO city.